Hey YouTube, this is the how to set up your Drill Doctor 750X. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to do is take a bit. So here's a bit. The edges are worn, the point is worn, and I'm going to put it in my chuck. All I really need to do is tighten this thing up so that the bit stays in there pretty much on its own, like that. That's good enough, but you can still slide it around. Okay, so on the chuck, there are these two white marks here and here. Those are for grinding points, so you can see where you're grinding. And these two tabs right here line up with these index points on the index portion. So I'm going to put this thing in here at 118. Those other angles are not really worth having unless you're going to make it more aggressive for cutting really bad holes. Now I'm going to open up the jaws, and then I'm going to flick the lever several times. This is the first thing I do different than what I've seen in any of the videos. Basically what I'm doing is making sure that the flutes, across the flutes, let me grab a different bit, make it easier, so that across the flutes, those jaws are grabbing it across this narrow portion right here. But because your flutes are sharp, they kind of grab the edges of these jaws a little bit. So your bit may or may not get dead lined up. So I flicked the lever several times, and now I'm going to twist the bit, and you hear that little tiny tink. It's because the jaws were not perfectly lined up. So all I'm doing is just barely twisting the thing, just to make sure it's dead in there. Flick the lever a few more times, do this, and then I'm going to snug it up. Alright, the reason why I do that is because several of them I've had the bit be just a smidge off one direction or the other, in which case you may or may not cut the cutting edge, or you might cut beyond the cutting edge, in which case you round it back down again, and then the bit doesn't cut at all. So anyway, flick the lever several times, turn the bit, flick the lever a few more times, turn the bit a few more times until I finally feel the thing settle completely out so that the flutes are dead square in those jaws. And that's when I finally tighten this up. So that's the first thing. Alright, next one is, the manual says to make complete turns like this. Equal number of turns all the way around so that you grind both sides of the flutes evenly. My experience has been that that does not work. And the reason why is, let me put the bit in here. So let me set this back up to 118. Tighten that up. Alright. So I am at the lowest point on the cam. And you'll notice how this whole assembly wobbles. It has to, because there is a cam groove around here, which is what cuts the profile on the bit. Alright, so if I put this in here and I'm turning like this, it's quite difficult to maintain constant contact with the cam and the post. In fact, this hump right here and that white mark are high point to low point. And they are 5 or 7 degrees different from each other, 10 degrees different. So that point specifically is a real hard one to catch. And so I was finding that I was getting inconsistent grinds. You know, one side would be more ground than the other side, which meant that the point was not dead center in the bit, which means that your bits wander and they don't cut straight, and they're just really a pain in the neck. So my solution is, instead, start at the white point, turn 90 degrees up to the hump, go back, go back to the hump, go back, go to the hump, go back, go to the hump, go back. And the only thing I'm doing, I'm not really pressing down very much. I'm mostly pushing the cam up against the post. And I'm listening for when the grinding sound starts diminishing. And then I go to the other side, do the same thing. To the white point, to the hump, that 90-degree turn right there. Do that over and over again until I hear the grinding sound diminish. Then I go back over to the other side, do the same thing again. Oops, I didn't have this snugged down. So let me reindex my bit. There we go. Yeah, so don't do that. Now that I've pulled it out, it's just finger tight there. I'm going to give it another little turn. Now it's snugged down. That's what I should have done to begin with. So anyway, back to here. Just going to do that 90-degree turn right there. And then once I hear the bit start grinding off a little bit, go to the other side, do the same thing. Now, I'm not paying any attention to how many turns I'm doing. I'm listening to the cutting edge. That's it. So let's do exactly that. So here I've got a bit. It's all indexed, ready to roll. And let's set her in there. Okay, Okay, I can hear it starting to diminish its grind, so let's go to the other side. All I'm doing is keeping pressure with the cam and the post. There we go. Starting to diminish. Let's go to the other side. Starting to diminish. Barely cutting anymore. That's probably about done. Yep, that's probably about done. Alright, now when I look at the bit, both of my grinding surfaces are going to be pretty much ground the same. I won't be able to visibly see a difference. And the point is going to be 90 degrees from the flutes. If you see that your point is at an angle towards the flutes or that way too, you have ground your bit wrong. You should see that point, the little flat edge in there, 90 degrees from the flutes. So the flutes are at their narrowest points right here, and that point is exactly 90 degrees opposite of that. If you get a different result, grave grind. It's not going to cut worth anything. So anyway, there we go. There is a bit. Now we're going to do video 4 where I